I wish people could experience this. There's so many people that dream of this, and then there's a lot less of us doing it. And I'm trying to figure out, why did we go and do this? What made us actually act upon it?
Welcome to the Passages from the Heart podcast, a podcast made by an everyday sailor for everyday sailors. We talk everything from day sailing to racing to cruising to camping out on your boat and everything in between. It's time now to raise the sails. In today's episode, I chat with Tomas Fehrling, a Swedish solo sailor who is currently circumnavigating aboard his 2010 Dufour 40E performance, Saoirse. I came to know of Tomas as a result of discovering his sailing blog a little over 2 years ago. Since that time, I've been following Tomas's incredible journey throughout Europe, the Mediterranean, across the Atlantic into the Caribbean, through the Panama Canal, across the Pacific. Currently, Tomas and Saoirse are in Whangerei, New Zealand, where they will explore New Zealand's many epic treasures as they wait out cyclone season. I am thrilled to introduce you to Tomas, a sailor who has inspired me tremendously.
I'm curious if you could share your origin sailing story. Like, how did sailing come into your life?
Well, first of all, it's not that unusual to be sailing, and Sweden has a long tradition of sailors, both racers and cruisers and that sort of stuff. And I think that's probably what we share. The number one thing we share with New Zealand, probably two great boating nations, if you like. So I started like most others. I was in a sailing club and I started with dinghies and that sort of stuff. I moved up and started buying a boat with like a dinghy with my brother. We sailed there, and as I grew older, I started borrowing boats and that sort of stuff from my parents. And I think by that time I already knew I was going to do this. It's like that. I know my own area. I know all of this, whatever. I wonder what's behind that. And I guess it's like the island is here. I'd like to sail outside the reef. And see what it's like. So I knew when I was in my late teens, early 20s that I was going to do this, and I thought I was going to do that before I started getting stuck in normal life, if you like. But then again, it doesn't always work out the way you expected it. So I had a land life for quite a while. Lived in London and different places. Whatever. Always had boats. So this is, I think, my 8th boat. I think now. So it's not.
Wow.
I've always really been a boat owner. They've gradually gotten larger, and I guess I decided at this point in my life you can always. I wish I'd done it earlier. I'm still in my 50s, so it's not too late. I guess that's the old expression. You need 3 things to go sailing, like I do, and one is time, one is money, and one is health. And I guess 2 out of 3 you pretty much have all the time. It's when you decide that you think you have all 3, move quickly. Get going. I'm finally getting to do what I was meant to do. I think my concern, is more, could I ever come back to society? Just settling down again and not just live in the past then or whatever. I think, to be honest, this is a one-way street for me. I think I'll retire, maybe living on the boat if I can't, in some place in the Med, probably. But I don't think I'll buy a house again.
Mm-hmm.
I think I do have parents. They have a place in Corčula in Croatia where I can go and have land life maybe at some stage. But other than that, I don't see myself getting back to society again.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
Both determination, a part of selfishness, I guess, and a bit of you know, and some courage. I think.
Yeah, for
A
sure.
combination
Courage.
of courage, being a little bit selfish, and determination. I think.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think that's something. I mean, and it's a decision.
I know what you're saying with that. And I wonder for myself often if I'm ever, I don't want to say if ever, but when that might happen for me, but it's a little complicated. But I'm sure that you were probably in that situation too at some point in your life where you felt things were complicated and it wasn't the right timing. But I do have to say, with the health part that you mentioned, I think for me, that's more where I have my worries. And I hear younger people than us, because, you know, I'm in my 50s too, who, you know, are, oh, we got to just do this now. And they're like, you know, in their 30s or younger. And I'd be curious too. Most people that you see out there doing this cruising lifestyle like you're doing, are a lot of these people younger people, or would you say it's a mix, or used to be historically more people who are retirees, which lends itself that, you know, you're probably going to be 60 plus by that point. But I hear that that's really changed quite a bit, and that it really is more a lot of younger people that are doing this too.
I think you're right. I would say anywhere between 35 and 65. You got some outrage, you know. Actually, you know, there's a few older as well, but not that many that are younger than 30, 35 or something like that. I don't think. If you get this far, at least if you're European or American, or you would have been out quite a while, and you'd probably run out of money if you're in that age group.
Yeah, I think
a younger age group. So, but I mean, there are a surprising amount of people that do this before they have children, say, for instance, and couples and that sort of stuff. Yeah, I expect the people to be younger than that, in their 20s, like 6 or 7 youngsters going together on a boat, or older people. But I'm actually surprising how many people manage to squeeze this into their middle of their lives.
Yeah.
Which I think is where you got the time issue usually. So I think that was a surprise to me.
I think that the difference, I mean, because we're not that far apart in age from what I remember. And I think, you know, for those younger people that are doing it, the way that the structure, I guess, of how you can earn a living, or in other words, make money to do what you're doing. I mean, look at all these YouTube channels and the podcast, the gig economy, as I recently heard it called.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think that you're doing that, at least as far as I know. I don't think you are, right?
No. I'm probably the more traditional one that basically worked, saved, and living off a combination of savings and pension. No, I'm not. I don't have any alternative income as such, and I'm not really looking for that either. So that's not that I don't have a budget for it, but it's. I mean, I guess that's one of the advantages we're doing it my way. There's so many people that dream of this, sitting watching YouTube channels and this and that, whatever, and then there's a lot less of us doing it, if you like, and I'm not sure. I'm trying to figure out, you know, what's wrong with us? Why did we go and do this? Why suddenly? What made us actually act upon it? Because it doesn't just happen. It's something I think somebody said somewhere that, like, from your decision to get going, that's like a 7-year sort of planning, if you like, and I think that's true. I think none of it just doesn't just happen. I think a lot of people got sped up, or it got quicker with COVID, and people started working at a distance, and they were reevaluating their lives. Either they were, you know, rebuilding their kitchen, or they, you know, started working on their boat and got going. But we all, I guess, have got some sort of screw loose and did this. I mean, people say, to allude to that, people say, God, you're so brave. You're sailing alone across oceans or whatever. That's not, to me, that's not brave at all. What's brave is just, selling up, getting rid of everything you have, saying goodbye, and just shooting off. That actually that's probably 90% of the courage, if you like.
Well, yeah, but
because
you're saying goodbye to your family, right? And the life that you knew for so many years, and
yes, you are, and you're. That depends. Some people keep properties and rent out and do other things, whatever, and have some sort of exit in sight. But most people actually don't. Most people here own their boats and don't actually have a plan B.
Yeah. I kind of like that, like outlook, if you will, where you just kind of go whichever way the wind blows, pardon the pun, in a sense. I mean, I know that you do have, at least when we've talked in the past on, like I said, email and whatnot, and you do want to circumnavigate, right? So there is, in a sense, that sort of, at least for you, I know there's that sort of a, if you want to call it a plan to some extent, but it's a loose plan as far as how much time you're going to take to do it. And with sailing, I know that you never say necessarily when you're going to arrive somewhere, because there's just so many things that factor into how you travel by sailboat or when you're sailing, whether it's the wind or something with your boat that may need a repair or whatnot, and I can't, it's hard for me because my life is so structured. It's like, it is sometimes very difficult to think of just letting all of that go and having a loose sort of plan. How did you go from, being a professional and working for all those years to where I'm sure you had deadlines and obligations and responsibilities to other people? And how did you go from that sort of a lifestyle to where you are? Not that you don't have responsibilities, because certainly you do, but you know what I mean? Just like living a more, like you said, kind of a loose plan or outlook. How did you make that transition? Was that sort of a hard thing, or you just were ready and you were done with it all?
I think I always knew I was going to do this. So, and I did tell anyone that cared to listen. Most people didn't listen, which meant that when I shut off, people said, "What?" And I kind of said, I told you so. I told you I was doing this.
Right.
So I think over time, I tried to make sure I didn't buy too many things. We all buy things, of course, but I mean, things that I couldn't part with. I think I pumped some money into savings and that sort of stuff, whatever, all the time to make sure that I'd be ready. Did I? I don't know. I mean, I think business wise, I mean, it's hard, when you're kind of you have a structured life, you have expectations, you have people are going to miss you if you don't turn up and that sort of stuff, and then. But I still see others who get to 65 and retire and basically had no plan for that and just look lost, if you like, or whatever. In terms of, and I kind of feel I'm quite blessed that now I didn't wait to a certain age. I mean, I left a lot earlier than that, but I was already with one foot in the new life, or whatever, as I did that. So I've never really missed any of land life or work or anything since I got going. So to me, it was probably more determination, planning. And I mean, when I bought this boat in 2010, I already knew I was going to sail far in this thing. I think most people felt that I bought it because I had kids and needed a larger boat for that reason. But I just started going further and further away, and then leave the boat in different places, go back home and work, and then come back to the boat again and not go home again. And I guess I'm linking the two questions you have here. In my mind, I always hated turning around, vacation sailing to Germany from Sweden, for instance, and then realizing I'm going back the whole damn way again. I kind of just wanted to continue, go further, go further, go further. And I guess if you're aiming west and you do that, eventually you will come back to the same place, but you will have circumnavigated as by accident almost.
Yeah.
That said, I don't think I'll ever go back to where I came from. I mean, I've seen that place. I'll probably end up in the Med when I'm too old for this, I would have thought. But right now, I just want to see new places. I'm in New Zealand now. Several of my neighbors are flying back home for Christmas and doing that, whatever. It's bloody freezing in Sweden by now. And I've seen Sweden everywhere in Sweden, probably. And I've only scratched the surface of New Zealand, so I prefer to. I'm going to stay here, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, since you brought up your boat, I was wondering if you could tell us why, how, what made you decide upon that particular boat for this sort of lifestyle, to sail around the world? What was it about either the manufacturer or the brand of the boat, the size of the boat? And I know you've made all sorts of modifications over the years to her as well.
I had, it's as simple as I had a smaller version of the same boat before, and I traded, which I also bought new, and I traded it in for this one and got a good deal on it. So it's as easy as that. It is a bit of a racy version for what I'm doing. It's quick for the size of it, which is nice in a way. You can do shorter passage or quicker passages, but it also means that she's a little bit too quick for her own good sometimes, particularly sailing downwind in big waves or whatever. She likes to surf, which means that in bad weather, my number one priority is to slow down and just make sure she's can stay on course and doesn't veer off left, right, and center and doesn't become a surfboard rather than a sailing boat.
Yeah, so her design is more, I don't know if, would you say she has a plumb bow, right?
No, well, it's the Dufour 40E Performance, it's called. So right. It's a lightweight structure. So it's a sandwich hull, so not a solid glass fiber bit. So basically it is a couple of tons lighter than most boats this size. It's got a flat hull and a deep fin keel with a lead bulb on it. So your classic racing. Yep. So a lot of weight way down. And then she's got a tool rig for her size. I mean, if I look around the marina here, substantially larger boats would have shorter masts than I do. But she carries a lot of sails, which means that I rarely have full sail plan up.
She cut a rig? So
she's a sloop, but she's a 7/8. The Genoa goes about 7/8 up the mast. It's got a boom that extends over the whole cockpit. I've got the main sheets in the cockpit rather than in front of which is great for sailing, not so good for sun protection and that sort of stuff because it's a little harder to have a canvas over the cockpit. So you could argue, if you compare with, most modern boats are designed more and more like this one because people want, it creates, it's very wide, it carries its beam all the way back, which means the cockpit's cyclable, but it also means that it's got a big butt, if you excuse the expression, that pretty much just lifts as with a big wave, which means that the bow tends to dig down and the butt lifts and the rudder gets less contact with the water, which means that she likes to round up in those cases.
Do you have two rudders or one?
I have one rudder, two steering, two wheels, one rudder.
Okay.
So yeah, so the trick is when you get big waves and wind from behind, make sure you start a surf at like 4 or 5 knots rather than at 8 knots, because you'll end up at 11 instead of 16 knots or something, where basically the whole boat starts snaking, if you like, and you're somewhere between jibing and broaching continuously.
Right. So she's got a roller furler too, right?
Yeah.
Because I think weren't you having some issues with your roller furling recently?
Yeah, I mean, I love this boat. It's a great boat, whatever in terms of. There's a couple of design things that I think are really stupid. I don't think any new boat builder, or certainly not Dufour or whatever, would want me at their exhibition stand at some boat show. I'd probably walk around and say, that's stupid, that's stupid, that's stupid. One of the things is it's got a ton of different hatches, for instance, and they're all different. Some of them are flush, some of them are above, some of them. And I'm kind of saying, it means that I need to carry spare parts for all types of different hatches.
Yeah.
And B, the flush hatches look really, really good, and it looks really good at an exhibition or whatever. But it means that you got a moat, if you like, around it, like a little. So whenever it's raining, it collects water there, and it takes a day or two before I can open them. Otherwise, it just rains. Water comes in. So that's one thing. The other thing is what the one you alluded to. I got a furler, which is below deck, so it's in the anchor box.
Oh, right.
So the furler drum is not visible. And the nice thing is it's very easy to walk around up there, and it looks better because it's not there. So the nice thing is that you can't see it. The bad thing is you can't see it. It means that if anything ever gets untangled there, and they seem to do, it ends up, you can't see it, and you start furling it in, and it gets jammed.
Yeah.
And usually gets jammed when you really don't want it jammed, because you want to reduce the sail area. And that means that you've got to go up into and climb into an anchor box, which is filled with chain and water coming and everything in rough weather. And I've done that more than I deserve.
Yeah, I remember reading about that, and that sounded a little like hairy doing that. I was like, wow, you got to contort your body to get in there.
Yeah, I call it her prison. I basically had to get it, first remove the crap that you have in there, apart from the chain where you're sailing, which means trash and fuel containers and other things. And then you have to squeeze yourself into that hole and sit on a chain as water is coming in above you, trying to entangle this thing without losing a finger or something as the drum is going back and forth. So no, I would strongly recommend any boat builders to not do that.
Okay.
But then again, you have the boat you have. You make the best out of it. Certain things you can improve, and you could make sure that you got enough power, got enough of this and that, whatever. But the general design of it, you live with, and make the best out of it. I have so many people around me that constantly look at new boats or changing or whatever, in terms of, I think I've come to a point where this is my boat, and I'll make the most out of it.
Generally speaking, you are, let's see, first of all, you've done, the Atlantic crossing was with crew, your son and two friends of his, right? 4 people? Yep. And then the sail from Panama to French Polynesia, that was by yourself, right?
Yeah, I mean, I had, they came across to Martinique with me from, they joined in the Canaries. My son actually sailed from Palma and Mallorca down to the Canaries as well.
Oh, wow.
Then I've sailed around in the Caribbean, down to Grenada, up to Dominican Republic, and then down to Panama, through the canal where I had my parents help me, just through the canal. Then I've sailed all across the Pacific to Tonga, essentially, on my own. And then my son joined me in Tonga, and just left the boat a week ago here in New Zealand. So I guess I've had crew, if you like, across the Pacific and from Tonga here. Oh, sorry, across the Atlantic and from Tonga here.
You I think said that do you not have a preference for, I mean, some people will say, oh, I really prefer sailing by myself. Some people will say, I don't want to be responsible for the lives of other people. So that's one reason why I like to be by myself. Now, How do you feel about that?
I don't mind the crossings at all on my own. I mean, the only time I've missed crew, other than as company, would be in areas with a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
Gibraltar, English Channel, that sort of stuff. Fortunately, where I've sailed on my own, there's been very, very little traffic, surprising little traffic. I think I can't I hardly saw a boat. I think from Dominican Republic of the 1,200 miles down to Panama. From Panama to Marquesas was 4,500 miles. I saw, I want to say, one boat, apart from just the first day when you're out of the from Tahiti to Tonga, 1,500 miles. One boat or two, I can't remember. Nothing almost. So it's this lends itself very much to solo sailing. I think that's going to change a lot, bearing in mind that somebody said we're like 8 billion on the planet. I think about 1 billion live in the southern hemisphere, 7 in the northern hemisphere. I mean, these countries. I mean, this is a big country here, but there's like 5 million people here. When you start getting them to Southeast Asia, that's pretty much where a huge portion of the world lives.
Right.
So I'm a little bit more scared of traffic and fishermen and other things as I'm moving. So I think that'll change. But up until now, I've not at all missed. I feel fine on my own. I like the combination of being on my own and then coming into and be social as you get to where you are,
right.
Now. There's a lot. I mean, even people here, or maybe a couple say, we could never do what you're doing. You could never do solo sailing. I think everyone can do that. I don't think never thought of that as me being different, being on my own, if I compare with others that have crew. So I've never really felt that so special.
It's wild because like some people, like some of these YouTube sailors, for example, they just have hardly any experience, right? And they just go out and they do this by themselves much of the time. And I think to myself, wow, man, I don't have the guts to do that. Like, I feel like I'm one of those incremental kind of persons who feels like I need to have a foundation and then I build upon that. And then, like maybe I'll sail across my lake where I sail now by myself. Okay, that's done. Then maybe I could sail up to Lake Michigan, take my boat up there and sail across Lake Michigan. Okay, that's done. And then maybe I could sail from Florida to the Bahamas. Okay, I don't feel like I could just be like Olivia. She had 36 hours of solo sailing experience. She left San Diego and sailed to Hawaii by herself. The thought of doing that it's for me, it's the thought of, I want to be prepared to do that. You know what I mean? I want to feel like I'll know what to do. I'm curious, like, what you think about that, because you always have struck me as such a cool as a cucumber, as the saying is. Like, you don't seem like much rattles you.
I mean, I haven't been in, maybe I have, but nothing that has stuck to me as being in serious trouble. I mean, yeah, I've had 60 knots, which I
by
guess.
By yourself,
yeah,
too?
Yeah. So I've had 60 knots of wind. I mean, that's a lot. I mean, that's touching on hurricane sort of, and that was in Sicily. So actually, I think but I think I don't think anything can really prepare you for this. So I don't think there are incremental steps. I think you need to get your mind around a few things. Not seeing land is a good thing. that's the number one thing I would. Not seeing land is a really good thing. Land only brings problems, brings fishermen, brings shit, needs navigation, means harder to sleep, means all sorts of, means disturbed winds, disturbed wave patterns, everything like that, whatever in terms of deep ocean. You're going to drown at 2 meters as well, so it doesn't matter if it's 5,000 meters deep. So I think that you need to feel comfort with not seeing anything around you.
Yep.
My concerns would be more something happening to the boat. So you need to take care of your boat, whatever, in terms of maintenance, but also not oversail it, if you like, whatever it does.
Right. Pushing it.
Obviously, you don't want to some things you can't do anything about. I mean, if I hit something in the water, I've read of two people that have hit whales out here. I had another solo sailor I watched on YouTube the other day. I don't watch a lot of these things anymore, but who basically ran into some sort of container and his boat sank on the way to Africa. So feel comfort, get comfortable without seeing anything. Stop worrying about things that you can't do anything about. And then my biggest concern is fishermen and other boats, if you like, as a solo sailor. Obviously, I don't want to lose my rig or anything, so I check that continuously.
Yep.
But those are things I can actually do something about. So I don't worry about sailing. No, I don't. Other things scare me. I don't like red tape. I don't like authorities. I don't like checking in. I don't like, that's the way you get caught with, some formality you missed or something like that, whatever. That's when you get in trouble with authorities and other things instead. So,
yeah, that makes me nervous. That makes me nervous, I think, too, that part of it. Because, how do you... Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. No, that's more, yeah, I mean, you hear of people that have been fined astronomical amounts because they didn't live up to something. Or that were told to leave or whatever. I mean, the country you're in, for instance, is one of the most problematic ones to sail to.
I didn't know that.
You need a B1, B2 visa to bring a boat in. I only need an electronic ESTA visa to fly into the US otherwise. And I've worked in the US and lived there numerous times. But if you come on your own keel, it's very, very difficult. Story.
Yeah.
So basically I had to so I sailed from BVI, British Virgin Islands, past Puerto Rico and USVI and everything straight to Dominican Republic, because just stay off 12 miles off any US territory, and they're all coast guards and everything ensuring that you don't go on their waters. So
wow.
And now with COVID, there's a huge backlog to get the B1, B2 visa. So that's one thing. In New Zealand, you have to fill in all sorts of forms. You have to have a clean hull. You have to have inspections, and they're going through and they're lifting boards and finding, and come with it. They were very nice with it, but there's a procedure, and there's the same in a lot of countries. So I think that is more of these are things outside of your control, if you like. Sailing is perfectly within my control.
Right. Yeah. So with the, I think with Panama, you hired an agent, right, to help you with.
Yeah.
Was that just with the crossing through the canal, or was that just with everything as far as arriving there and the canal and?
It was. I hired an agent for the canal crossing, and with that, actually, he threw in the checking in and the checking out of the country. It was probably like $3,000 or something just for the canal crossing. I don't want to say it's disorganized, but it's you have to run around town and all sorts of different places to check in and out.
What other countries did you use agents for checking in?
This is the only one I've used.
Okay. So
I didn't go to Colombia. I think people do that in Colombia, but I didn't go to Colombia because I went up to Dominican Republic.
I think I read that some of the other folks who choose to go through the Suez Canal as opposed to around the Cape Horn. Is it Cape? Not Cape Horn.
No, Cape of Good Hope.
Yes, thank you. Cape Horn is South America. What am I thinking?
Yeah.
Anyway, so the Suez Canal route up through to the Red Sea to the Suez Canal, right? And then that comes out in the Mediterranean.
Yep.
So I've heard of people using agents for that area too. And speaking of that, this is probably too off in the future, but I'm just curious, have you given any thought about which route you would take?
I have. I don't want to make my mind up yet, but right now I think it's going to be South Africa. And the reason I'm saying South Africa is I'm not sure I want to be back that soon. And back being the med, really, for me. I think it comes with, the Suez is going to be sailing-wise and until you get to the Red Sea, an easier trip. So that's like North Indian Ocean.
Right.
I mean, I mean, I haven't sailed in the Indian Ocean yet, but I've sailed in both the Atlantic and the Pacific now. And I think if the Pacific is just as it sounds, the least worrying one in terms of wind and conditions and that sort of stuff, Atlantic would be in the middle, and the Indian Ocean would be the roughest one.
Right.
Particularly as you start moving south. So I think by going South Africa route, you will add tons of miles, and you will go around some of the most notoriously bad weather areas, particularly the east coast of South Africa.
Yeah.
So, like, where you got wind against currents and all that sort of stuff, and very, very few places to abort mission if it gets messy.
Right.
And it basically means a very long ride around and St. Helena, Brazil, and up Caribbean way coming back home. Whereas actually, if you went through the Suez, you'd be back. For me as a European, you'd be back in Europe very, very quickly.
Right.
The disadvantage with the Suez, obviously, the most obvious one is probably political, with all-out wars going on in several countries there.
Right.
It's notoriously rough ride up the Red Sea. It's like 1,100 miles
of headwinds, right?
For headwinds, which means that you need a lot of diesel, because you need to worry about where you can, buy diesel. There's going to be a ton of traffic, bearing in mind that a lot of the stuff is coming through the Suez Canal. So for a solo sailor, sleeping is going to be an issue. Piracy, of course. So there's a lot of reasons not to do the Suez for me, particularly on my own. So I think, no, I mean, the only reason I would do the Suez is probably if I felt I needed to get home quickly because people are ill or other things or whatever.
How about getting crew through like crewseekers.com or whatever those, I don't know what they all are, but I hear there's a handful.
I'm not sure that'll be the most popular route.
Yeah.
It'd probably be easy to get crew out here or in the, but do you want to motor for 10 days through a war zone in headwinds?
Oh, or even if just you go from the southerly route though, around Africa.
Yep.
That's quite a long passage. I wonder, and like you said, the Indian Ocean is more known for being more treacherous sailing, I guess. So that might be not as many people would sign up for that maybe, but I think I often hear people recommend this as a way to get miles under your belt if you're interested in learning if this is really what you want to do and, doing the crewing and all that. How would you feel about having complete strangers come on your boat? I
think the places I would need crew would be coastal close, or would be, rather than the long passages.
Yeah.
The long passages, open waters, I'm used to that. That's not where I'd need it. Even the things that could get you into trouble in those circumstances, I'm not sure it helps having people on board.
Right. Yeah. Makes sense.
The only thing I could think of that would be of help would be if I get autopilot issues and steering and that sort of stuff, hand steering. But other than that, I don't feel I need that on long passages.
You don't have a wind vane either, right? Or a hydro vane?
I can't. The way the boat's designed, I've got a folding transom that comes down, like a big swimming platform that comes down. So basically, and I have a ton of other stuff at the back. I think it'll be very, very hard to fit a wind vane on this boat.
Yeah.
That's one of the great advantages with the more traditional design boats, or like older boats, if you like. They have a couple of big advantages. First of all, they have a long keel very often, which means that they steer themselves better than this boat would. And it has and you can have a wind vane. This boat doesn't steer itself well at all. It probably doesn't heave too well at all either. So I feel, that those are some of the drawbacks. I have spare parts for that autopilot for most things anyway. But that is one of those things that I'll just have to deal with when if it happens.
Yeah. Wow.
And to be honest, I've sailed, I don't know, 30,000 miles easily, probably more, a lot more probably on my own. And I think I think I've hand steered, if even 1% of that.
Wow. Okay.
So I don't think that's not physically possible. So I don't know. We'll see. Well, nothing is physically impossible. You just have to deal with it when it happens. But
Right.
fortunately, I haven't had to do that yet.
So I know you're only halfway around, but I'm just wondering, and maybe too soon to say, is this something you'd want to do again? Maybe on a different kind of boat, like a catamaran, or
No, I'm not a catamaran sailor. First of all, I don't like the way they sail. I understand that you get space, but I have tons of space for me on my own here as well. So I'm not a catamaran sailor.
Monohull all the way for me.
Sorry?
I said monohull for me all the way. I've never been I mean, I shouldn't say never say never, as the saying goes, but I don't know. I guess maybe it's just because that's how I grew up sailing. But yeah, I would choose a monohull.
Yeah, but to me, they don't feel like a sailing boat. They don't.
I've heard that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to explain this to others. Like, how do you? I mean, you sail with ears and motion only. That's what. There's nothing to look at. It's open waters, whatever. So your eyes aren't really doing a lot. So which means that you hear things, and what you're primarily listening to is noises that you haven't heard before.
Right. Sure.
That's not a good idea usually. You don't want to hear that. What is that sound? The rest is just pure motion, or maybe flapping of sails or whatever. So if I sleep, I wake up for nothing. But I know my boat to the extent that I know when I feel it immediately if something is, if it's doing something else, if it's not liking something, whatever it is. I could be on a catamaran and I don't actually, it's noise between the hulls. It's also, it hop skips and jumps and does all sorts of weird things or whatever, whereas actually this one moves with the water in a very, so I think my type of sailing, I mean, they have like reefing charts and, saying that what winds do you need, because the boat doesn't tell you it needs to reef. I mean, my boat, I would feel that immediately if it's time to reef the boat.
For sure.
So I think it's a safety issue. I also think it's also some lateral bends and movements in a catamaran that can't be good. Now, I know I'm going to upset a lot of people saying this, and they have different experiences, but my experience is I know how a monohull acts, and I like that.
Yeah. And again, like, I don't have any experience on catamarans. Only I hear people say that they think they're ideal for cruising because of the comfort level. But then again, it depends on your point of sail, I think, right? So
yeah.
I can't remember what it is. They don't sail well to windward, maybe? Is it?
No, that's true. Yeah, but no.
Yeah.
They run a lot of engines to windwards. They wouldn't say, yeah.
But it seems like there's so many people who are going that way. I mean, do you see a lot of them? It seems like
no doubt that's the way. There's more and more catamarans all the time, and we've talked a lot of sailing. The honest answer is that you're probably 10% is sailing of what I'm doing, and 90% is living on anchor. So I can kind of see that, the sort of space you'd get and that sort of stuff. I'm not sure. I think a lot of people say, oh, they're always flat, and they don't actually. No, they move a lot as well, whatever it is. So I don't think I think, granted, if I was lying on anchor and getting seas from the side all the time and I started swinging, whatever, that's not comfortable on this boat, of course. But I don't think a choppy anchorage is much nicer on a catamaran either.
Right.
Now,
yeah.
But I think, so veering off a little bit here, I think doing what I'm doing is, sailing is one thing. The other thing is just wanting to see new places. So in my mind, I'm not a visitor. I live in New Zealand now. I don't have another home. So this is my home. I live in New Zealand now. I've just lived 3 months in Tonga. I lived 4 months in French Polynesia. I lived 3 months in Panama. And, as I leave, I've learned quite a bit about those countries, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And and that's a big part of what I'm doing. I think the crossings, yeah, the Pacific has been long distances. There's been a lot of sailing this year. I probably sailed 15,000 miles in the last year, last 12 months. So that's probably more than normal. But then again, I've sailed 4,500 miles and I've been pretty static for a while. And then I've sailed another 1,500 miles and I'm static there for a few months. So I think you need to set up your stuff around so that you enjoy living on the boat. You need to have a good tender, new dinghy, good,
Yeah.
Have some toys,
Yeah, I hear the dinghy is
like,
it's kind of like your car, right?
It is vital. Yeah. And you need to hang around some people you like, and
yeah, that's always a good thing, right?
yeah. So I think
it's so funny because you know what? Some people I hear too, just they want to do it because they just want to get away from people. I hear people say that too, like, oh, I'm tired of, the rat race and the concrete jungle. And I just want to get on my boat and just get away from it all. And the truth of the matter is that you could really do it both ways, right? Because like you're saying, you've met a ton of people with the places that you visited and, or you could choose to be like, I follow this other guy who's, Paul Trammell, who is, he's in Panama now, I think, but he really enjoys the loner aspect of being on his boat. So it's just interesting because the same lifestyle can call to people who do want to be more maybe isolated, or people who do want to, learn about other people, meet other people, other culture, see new places.
I think you're right. The difference here is your neighbors may have very, very different backgrounds, but different financial situations, different type of boats, or whatever. We're essentially sharing some sort of foundation. It's not like your neighbors at home where you basically just happen to live next to each other, And people are pretty resourceful, positive.
Helpful too, it sounds like, with each other.
Sorry?
Helpful with each other.
Yeah. So, everyone loves to do work on each other's boats rather than, because you learn, and if you screw up, it's not your problem, kind of thing. And it's so I think it's very, very nice. And if you get into trouble, we're all following each other, we're all tracking each other, we're all looking out for each other. So it's I think this is a more social life than I've ever lived. Which sounds weird when I'm a solo sailor, but I think even the people I have contact with, as I am solo sailing, like yourself, it makes it's nice. I think it's and we read each other's blogs or whatever. So I think well, if you want to be on your own, this is also a life for you. You could do that. You can track people and make sure you don't go to where they are. And,
Right. That's funny.
But to me,
No, it's just interesting that, like you said, it's just like you can do it either way, and for you really do get the best of both worlds, right? Because sometimes you are by yourself and on some of those passages, and then when you get to a place like where you are now, you can have that more social aspect of the lifestyle. So yeah.
Well, I mean, if you look at a 30-day crossing from Panama to my Casas, I mean, I don't need to be more on my own after that.
Right.
I think I've warned people as I got in there, saying, you realize I'm socially deprived now. You're, if you initiated a discussion with me, you're going to get caught, But it's so no. I think the combo works very well for me.
Yeah, that's great.
We socialize with each other either on a beach or in each other's cockpits. We all go home.
Yeah, and
I can be, I mean, just since we started this discussion, 2 people have come around and I said, listen later, So I think
that's so nice that you have people check up on you. Like you can't, I can't say that. Like it's not like my neighbor comes over and any I've lived in the same place for 4.5 years almost, and I've never met any of my neighbors. Now, I've never gone over to introduce myself either, but on boats,
No.
it's like totally not that way. People seem so much more like open and wanting to, meet you. And I like that. I really like that community part of that sailing community, I guess, for lack of a better word. I wish that regular life was like that. I really do.
I wish people could experience this, as you're saying, because this is I think most people have heard about it or whatever, but it truly is. We're helping each other. We're looking out for each other. Whenever there's somebody's lost or something, everyone's looking, everyone's checking. So I think, and you come in here, nobody knows, you think, but they've all seen me on the tracker. So as I come in here as a solo sailor, they know I'm a solo sailor. There's like 10 people on the dock that I know of, and want to catch the lines and say, So yeah, they know I'm coming. So somebody's been watching me.
That's so great. Like where I am, obviously it's just an inland lake, I know, but I remember as a kid, I couldn't wait till a boat would come in and I'd be the first one there to help with the dock lines. And now I notice that people don't do that. And I've actually tried to go help, whether they're a power boat, pontoon boat, sailboat, whatever. And oh, no, we've got it. I don't know. It's a different culture where I am now than it was 30, 40 years ago, for sure. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that people there seem to have that where they want to help each other and look out for each other sort of thing. Because I don't experience that here.
It's not like that in the Mediterranean or other places.
Here,
okay. No, so it's not. I mean, here we're all committed. We're all doing what. Nobody lives here. Of the ones that Then you have. I mean, you have constantly people coming to the boat. Either your cruising buddies, or some kids. I mean, there was just on the dock yesterday. There was a New Zealand kid here, and he's basically asking what boat I have and everything or whatever. And at the end, he says, "Oh, where do you come from and where do you this or whatever?" And he has a little dinghy or whatever, and says, "Can I come and look at it?" And it's like that, or boat kids come up regularly.
Yep, that was what I was.
No. So So you have this. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It'll be different when I get to Southeast Asia, I'm sure. Here, these are islanders, and there's not New Zealand necessarily, but I mean when you're in Tonga and French Polynesia, and those are the visitors. Nobody else comes. It's only us cruisers.
Now, remind me, you guys got in. How long has it been that you got to Auckland now? 2 weeks ago?
3 weeks ago, roughly. So I've spent 3 weeks in Auckland and another a couple of days here, basically, and sailed up here. So that's it. So no, we sailed in there because my buddy boat Traveller had a dog that they needed to check in. That was easier,
right?
Yeah, it's quarantined now, and also my son wanted to see Auckland. So I've just sailed up here, where basically I know half the marina people here, which it's a small little marina, and basically it's people that I've met on the way. Yesterday we had a cruisers meet the local industry here thingy. So two people already have come around this morning about jobs that I talk to them about. I guess once a year the cruising community turns up here, and all the local boat builders want to get some money from us,
Okay, so you're talking like projects that you have that you want to hire some people to help out.
Yeah, I mean, I've got some. I'm going to add some solar panels here, for instance, and that means that I need some weld work.
One of the other people or groups that I was following was the South Pacific Posse, and so I know that you are or were part of that, I think, because at least your picture was in some of the things that they would post. So when you say that a lot of the people that are at the marina there, are these folks that were part of that South Pacific Posse Group 2023 with you?
Yeah, quite a few of them basically sharing information more than being a crowd, if you like. It's not like we sailed together. It's more a guy in that has done the Pacific many years, and he's put it together, and he gets like discounts here and there for us, and he has little talks on route planning and weather and that sort of stuff. So it's more a wealth of information you get out of that.
Okay.
There is a social, it's a social network, but I couldn't say really who's in that. It makes it sound like we're a lot of people doing this.
Yeah, it does kind of.
We're when it's not really in the grand scheme of things. I mean, like myself now hanging with a bunch of these people, you can get the feeling that whatever I'm doing, everyone's doing, and it's not that special kind of thing. Well, everyone you meet, other than the locals, of course,
Yeah.
are on the same path, if you like. And I think
Right.
that's been the way. That's been the way ever since I started this. When you're in the Canaries, we're all sitting there at some sort of sailor's base camp, waiting to climb the mountain, or if you like, we're sitting there, and there's probably a couple of hundred boats there, maybe, and then
Wow.
the further west you go, the thinner that group gets, and when you get to Panama and you're waiting to get through the canal, there's probably 40 odd of us left, and when you get here, I'm thinking about half of those will either sail their boat or are from here and just got back. So I'm guessing there'll be 20 odd going on from here. So it's like it thins out the group, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
It is not a group. I mean, we track each other on just like people can track me. So you know when you come into an anchorage that there's going to be somebody there. But largely, you make your own plans and you bump into each other, and it's quite nice. And
Yeah. Well, it's like
so
that Thomas from Norway always says, he always says, you never say goodbye as the cruiser, you just say, see you later.
true. There's a couple of sayings like that. One saying you never sail to something, you sail towards something. So there's a few things it doesn't always go as planned, but generally most of us, or the few that are left, have the same sort of mission, I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is going to probably be a fairly social event, bearing in mind that we're all lying here waiting for the cyclone season to die out further north, and
Right.
And we're all doing boat work, and we'll be sharing cars, no doubt, and we'll be sharing experiences with local vendors and that sort of stuff. So I think this will be a bit unusual. I'm only getting used to this since I've only been here for a short while, but
Yeah.
this will be a different part of the journey, I think.
Yeah. I mean, like I said to you last night, well, you were even saying in Panama, not so much either, but like, I'm thinking, well, I don't know how big the town or city is where you are. And is it pronounced Whangerei? How do you say it?
Whangerei, apparently. WH in Maori makes an F.
Okay. Whangerei?
So it's Whangerei. It's about 2 hours drive north of Auckland on the North Island. So I sailed up here the other day from Auckland. So I've been three. And Auckland is a big city. Here is about 100,000 or something here. So
Okay, that's sizable.
So it's sizable, and we're right, and we're the main attraction in town. I think. People walk around, you can hear them say, "Oh, that's a Swedish flag," or "Oh, that's a Norwegian." So we're, I think, part of the scenery right now. Right in the middle of town. There's like bars and restaurants and little
that's so
places
neat.
around. No, it's very, very neat. Yeah.
Do you think that, like, so most people, I mean, given the timing of the hurricane or cyclone season, I always want to say hurricane, but it's cyclone, right?
Yeah.
Would you say that probably, so most cruisers are going to be someplace safe, like where you are by now, or are you hearing about other people who are still kind of out there, maybe leaving from French Polynesia or Fiji or Tonga, or are you hearing of other? I'm assuming there's always some people that are constantly still crossing, but I would like to think that they're tuned into the fact that it's probably dangerous times to be doing that. So probably maybe not so many people. Would you say? I'm curious.
Well, I guess there are a few strategies. I mean, cruising around the world. if you want to do it safely and in a nice way, the trick is to stay on the winter side in the tropics on the winter side and sail west.
Okay.
So essentially, that means, I guess, when you're in the Caribbean, you want to be there during their winter, and obviously, when it gets warm in the summer, the water temperature rises above. I think it's 27 degrees Celsius. That means that the oceans can feed bad weather, and therefore it creates hurricanes, as they call them over there, which means that when you're in the Caribbean, you want to be there, from sort of like early December to like May time or late May. And then you probably want to get the hell out of Dodge, as most people over there or in Miami or whatever would know.
So you were in Grenada,
but
right?
I was in Grenada then. Now, Grenada is not technically safe. It's 12 degrees north, which is still in the cycle, but the further south you get, or the closer to the equator you get, the more likely you are not to get hit by it. Also, it's got a big landmass just south of it in terms of Latin America. So cyclones generally tend to veer further north, and that's on the northern side of the equator. South of the equator, where I am now, it's pretty much the same pattern. It starts, they start further east, and it doesn't get so bad maybe in places like French Polynesia, but as it's moving further, it gathers intensity, and places like you talk about, Tonga, and particularly Fiji, Vanuatu, and New Caledonia, and those tend to get hit regularly and quite badly. Mm-hmm. So those are the areas I've left now. So you have two options, I guess, or three options. One is, do you go do what your mate Thomas is, or our joint mate Thomas is doing, and that's sailing north of the equator instead to hit their winter, if you like. Or you do what I do, you leave the tropics entirely and sail out further south. I guess if you're American, that would mean move up the east coast of the US or something. So that's to get out of any area where the water temperature is that high.
Right.
The final way to do it is to stick it out, I guess, and that's what you're talking about. And there's a few racy ones that do that. They would make sure they need to be close to some place where they can hide.
Yeah.
That would mean going into like a mangrove sort of area, or some sort of hurricane hole, or put the boat in, bury the boat, which they do in certain places, where they basically dig a hole, stick the keel down, and basically bury the boat. Yeah, so I didn't want to live on a buried boat, and I didn't want to live on constant cyclone watch.
Right.
And not only that, I mean, when it's cyclone season, it also means that it's terribly humid and very, very, and rains a lot, so it's not really that comfortable either.
Yeah. Olivia did that last season. I think she was in Fiji at the time, and she was going from, I want to say she was in Muscat Cove, and then I remember her writing about a cyclone coming, and I think that she was saying people were taking their boats to Savu Savu or something, which led me to believe, which is on the south side of, I can't remember what the name of the island itself is, but anyway.
I haven't been to Fiji. I haven't been to Fiji yet, so that'll be next season. So I don't know either, but I mean, I believe,
you're going to sail. You're going to sail back to Fiji.
Yeah,
or not back, but sail to Fiji.
No,
wow.
Well, and I think she stayed there. I mean, there's different. I mean, the sail to and from New Zealand and back up to the islands, as they call it here, is is a pretty daunting sail, actually. So a lot of people either decide they don't want to do that, and they'd look for other options. In my case, I kind of felt, we timed it well and it worked well, whatever. And secondly, this also gives me an option to, this is probably the first place I've been to in a very, very long time where I can get proper help or proper, electricians and electrical people, electronics, and look at things that have, I don't think there's a boat here that doesn't have a substantial amount of work needed after a long time patching things up,
Well, I don't know if the Zoom's going to kick me off here because I think I only signed it up for till 6:30, which is in 2 minutes.
Okay, I'll be happy to if you want to have more questions and have another discussion. That's fine too. So.
Oh, that would be fun. I would love that. There are definitely other things I could talk to you forever.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
For chatting with me. It was wonderful. Thank you.
All right.
Okay. So I will
Take
see
care.
you next time. Have a good day.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this episode with Tomas Fehrling. If you would like to learn more about Tomas and his travels aboard Saoirse, please visit his website, sysaoirse.com. That's sysaoirse.com. Until next time, fair winds.